Hey Vince, how you feeling about spending 24 hours in a tube?
Can't wait. Honestly. Yeah, this is going to be great fun. Yeah.
Ben, 24 hours in a tube?
Loving life. Can't wait.
Hello everyone and welcome to, well, there's not really a week for this. I'm actually in Heathrow Airport, Terminal 3 right now. Just checked in for my flight to Dubai, and after that I'll be flying on to Auckland, New Zealand. So, a lot's gone on in the last few weeks. I finished ground school, went to an airline, and as some of you may have been aware, I was scheduled to go to Phoenix, Arizona. That got changed to New Zealand. It's been all go, and recording has just gone out the window a bit. So I'm through security now, just chilling out in departures. And yeah, I'm just going to give you a bit of an update. So the last video that you saw was me going to an airline, giving you some selection advice, but I didn't actually say how ground school had gone at that point. But it was pretty obvious at that point that I'd passed ground school. Unfortunately, that airline interview was unsuccessful. I'm still waiting on the feedback, but I gave it my best shot, so I'm sure there's another airline out there for me. So, to give you an update on how the last few weeks of ground school went, I did the mock exams, all 6 of them, passed on the first attempt, albeit the air law one was extremely tight. I only passed with a 2% margin, so that was tricky. A lot of stress that week, but yeah, main thing was pass the mocks. Okay, then of course we had the real thing. So 6 exams. I've just got to try and remember what they all were now. It's going back a fair bit, but I passed them all. I literally got up the next morning after the final exam, watched them all come in one by one, and I have to admit my heart was in my mouth for about 10 minutes, but I passed them all with pretty good margins. VFR comms actually I scored 100% in, so I was really pleased with that. Air law was the only one I was particularly worried about. I managed to get 79 in that, so very pleased. Everything else was mid-high 80s, so overall really pleased. Overall average for ground school was 88%, so very strong, first time passes. Couldn't have asked for any better than that, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you can score higher than that, but at the end of the day, I did it all in under 6 months, so give myself a bit of a pat on the back for that one. Okay. Sorry, excuse if I'm touching my ear quite a bit. I'm recording off of this microphone, as I'm in a pretty noisy environment right now, so the audio might be a little bit lower than normal. So, I've rounded up ground school. I'm in the departures lounge. What I'm going to do now is bring you along the journey to New Zealand. What I've been doing this last week, I've been staying up later and waking up later to try and combat some of the 12 hours time zone difference. But before I talk about that, I've just remembered, why aren't we going to Phoenix anymore? Well, as CTC 3 CTS would put it, operational issues. There was some problems with the aircraft, a bit of an instructor shortage, and it basically meant that if we did go to Phoenix, there would have been a significant delay. So it was actually quicker for us to get a visa done for New Zealand, which me personally, I managed to get mine done in 3 days. So that was really good going. Got the flights done, and I think our overall delay was only 2 weeks now, so we're hoping to catch some of that up. But yeah, so we're going to New Zealand now. Sorry if I don't sound very excited at the moment. I'm a bit tired. I've just driven to Heathrow, all checked in. I'm just bracing myself for the first leg. 7 hours to Dubai, then a very tight layover. I mean, touchdown to takeoff is less than 2 hours, so can't really afford a delay longer than 50 minutes realistically. But yeah, I'm rambling on a bit here, so I'm going to actually pause the video and see if I can just think of something else. Back in a minute. Well, it turns out I didn't end up thinking of something else, and this is now being post-recorded over the video footage and photos that I've taken during my trip to, well, the flight to New Zealand. So, what we're going to talk about, well, here you can see we flew on a Airbus A380 with Emirates Airlines, and I'm pleased to report that my overall experience with them was very good. So as you can see here, we're on the aircraft now. One of the features that I do like about the Airbus A380 is the ability to look at the camera that is mounted in the nose and the tail of the aircraft. That's quite a nice feature. And it was actually the first time I ever flew on an Airbus A380, and it's also the longest trip I will probably ever do. So as you can see here, we've been pushed back, and I thought I'd try out some of the new features on my camera, because before this trip I did purchase a new camera, because the old camera I used to use for filming was not as good. As you can see here, lining up, I can't remember which runway this was, but this is at London Heathrow. And I filmed the whole takeoff, but as you can see here, can't really see a lot out of the window because it's night time. However, I do plan on uploading all of the takeoff and landing footage shortly after this video has been released. So if you do want to watch these with the sound and in normal time, links will be in the description. One of the things I did find about the Airbus A380 was it was overall a very quiet aircraft. I was expecting like a roar like the Boeing 777, whereas we didn't get that, so that was quite a nice surprise, that, and overall it made the flight a bit more comfortable. Although when you're flying for over 24 hours, it's not really going to be comfortable, no matter, even in business class, you are going to arrive at your destination very tired. This first leg, flight to Dubai from Heathrow, it was a full flight. I think when I last checked there was only 2 spare seats, but I reckon they probably went to people that was on standby. So it was a full aircraft, and that's it. That is apparently normal for the London to Dubai route. That's why there are multiple A380 flights. I do enjoy a night departure. You get to see all the lights, and yeah, the camera doesn't really do it a huge amount of justice. I've got a couple of pictures coming up here that I took on a low light setting. They do a bit more justice, but here they come. So here's the first one. Comes out a bit better, but yeah, it doesn't do a huge amount of justice. So very quickly we went into the meal service on board the A380, and overall I felt the food, considering that it's airline food, it's not too bad. I mean, in economy you get given a menu, as you just saw, and that was my room dinner, and that there is my breakfast. So overall, not too bad actually. Once the sun rose, managed to get the window shade up and took a few photos and videos, and that's what you're seeing now, with the spoilers extended in this one. So as you can see, bottom left corner of this image is Dubai DXB Airport, and there it is at the bottom again. One of the world's largest airfields, and the first time I've ever flown in. I've done it on Flight Simulator before, but I've never actually physically been there. So that was quite an experience. Later on we see you can actually see in that picture just how many A380s there are outside Terminal 3 at DXB. And what we've got coming up here is a little time lapse of the approach. And as you can see, it wasn't the best visibility in Dubai. I have a feeling that's probably quite normal in Dubai. It's one of those places I wouldn't mind revisiting. It was just a shame that we couldn't do a long layover there. That would have been a nice way of splitting up the flight and to combat the jet lag a bit easier. But L3 CTC wanted us to get there as quick as possible, so that's what we had to do. Once again, as I said, I'm going to be posting all of the takeoff and landing videos in real time shortly after this video has been uploaded, so if you really want to watch them in normal time, feel free. I have to admit, the pilot on this occasion made a very good landing at Dubai, so that kept all the passengers happy, all 500 odd of us. As a matter of fact, I think I actually show the landing here in real time. No sound, because you can have that in the other video. I'll be quiet. No, I won't be quiet here actually, because there's no sound. But like I said, it's just unbelievable how busy Dubai Airport is. I mean, I watched all the documentaries about it, and it's just staggering. So as you can see, perfect touchdown, spoilers deployed, reverse thrusters kick in, and overall very good landing. So at this point, I have exactly 2 hours to make my connection, which would normally be fine, but unfortunately, even though our flight ran on time, the flight that was occupying our gate was not running on time, and we couldn't park at our designated stand. So we ended up just doing a bit of a taxi around the airfield, waiting for a stand to free up. So in the end, we did actually end up arriving at the gate a little bit late. And I think I did end up with about an hour to make my connection. As a matter of fact, I think we do cut to some audio footage very soon, once we get this little time-lapse out of the way and a few photos. Actually, whilst we're on it, have I got time? Yeah, we have. One of the things I noticed on the A380 at Dubai is pilots always leave the flap setting at flap 1, so if anyone knows the reason for that, feel free to leave a comment. As I said, it just staggers me just the number of A380s there are there. I mean, there's probably a third of the world's A380 population there. 1 hour to get my connection. Through security, just missed a train, but I think we're going to make it on time. Security was quick, I was through in about 5 minutes, no problem, so I was alright. So, 8 hours done, 16 to go. Yep, 8 hours done, 16 to go. That is, I mean, well, the flight I've just done is like doing a transatlantic, but like I said, I had an hour to make my connection, and thankfully security at Dubai was very organised and very quick. That was probably the make or break for the connection. We actually ended up making it with a reasonable amount of time. I mean, the train service that you can see there, I just missed one and I only had to wait, I think it was like 2 minutes for the next one to come along. So, although it's a very big airport, it is a very slick operation. I think it was like a 3 or 4 minute train ride. Very lovely terminal from what I saw, but unfortunately didn't really get to explore it just because of the tight connection. Yeah, everyone queuing up for the lift, so I decided to go up the escalator just because it was going to be quicker. And by the time I made it through to the area where my aircraft was going to be, the gate was actually already open. So as you can see, EK448 to Auckland, gate open. So we got there. As you can see, that's the aircraft, second A380. Accommodation for the next 16 hours. That was a long old flight, that, but like I said, lovely terminal.
In 10 years, maybe.
Yeah. Here we go again.
Bigger than an ATPL.
I'm ready for another 16 hours.
Yeah.
That's a no. So that's right, we're on the second flight. That was my course mate Andre Lapouzon there. He's also on the integrated course with me and doing very well. So you can see here we're being pushed back from Terminal 3. No idea what gate that is. You can probably see because I've got a very small screen that I'm looking at this on. As I said, all of this is being uploaded in 1080p HD, so the files are massive. But so here we are, we're lining up with God knows what runway. At this point I was already starting to feel pretty tired, even though I probably looked alright. That's because I livened myself up for the speed walk across Terminal 3 at Dubai. So 16-hour flight, even though it wasn't a full flight, it was a long old takeoff run because we had to have 16 hours worth of fuel, plus all the contingencies and reserves that we need. So, what can we talk about whilst we're doing a takeoff run? Again, very quiet. Yeah, the aircraft was very quiet on take. There's not really much I can talk about here actually, excuse the waffle, but once again, if you want to watch this in real time with sound and in full, links in the description to another video. But yeah, 16 hours on a plane. Like I said, it wasn't full, and I had the window seat, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to film this. But the middle seat next to me was free, and the guy on the aisle seat, unfortunately, his in-flight entertainment stopped working, so unfortunately for him, he had to move during the flight. But fortunately for me, that meant I ended up with 3 seats that I could basically turn into a bed. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much sleep as I planned, so that had completely messed up my sleeping cycle to try and prevent jet lag. I think in the end, I got about 2 hours of good sleep and maybe 6 hours of on and off sleep. So most of what you're going to see now is just going to be photos of us departing Dubai, and then probably the arrival into Auckland. But I got to see some of the famous landmarks that Dubai has to offer. Oh yeah, this picture here, you can actually see that the pressure above the wing is lower than the ambient pressure. So going to New Zealand, they're famous for lots of lamb, so I decided to have the lamb sausages for dinner. And the great thing about flying is you get to see some of the best sunsets. I couldn't decide on which photos to put in, so I just threw the whole lot in. Plenty of them. As a matter of fact, I changed my laptop screensaver to one of these, and it gets me every time. I do enjoy a sunset, even a sunrise as well. One of the features I did enjoy about the A380 is the mood lighting. As you can see here, this is the aircraft in its night mode. There was also some day modes and some transition, but it was very good for starting and finishing the meal services. It didn't distract everyone, it broke us in very nice and slowly. So as you can see here, we're over 15 hours into the flight, almost there. At this point, we've had a bit of a freshen up in the bathroom, change. Even though you'll probably see me on landing, I'm still in the same clothes. During this flight, I did change into some comfort clothes. Cannot emphasise that enough on a long haul flight. If you've got to change your clothes, it makes you feel so much better. Also, put a toothbrush in and a toothpaste and a bit of deodorant. It's not only good for you, but it's also good for your fellow passengers. As you can see there, I was very excited about getting my feet on the ground into Auckland. What have we got coming up? Oh yeah, the landing into Auckland. I mean, this is without a shadow of a doubt, this had to have been one of the most scenic approaches I have ever seen. I mean, I'm going to play it now, mostly sped up, but if you're going to watch one of the videos in real time, I highly recommend checking this one out. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I think I started filming this when we passed for about 10,000 feet, but you can see there in the distance, that is the runway. So we essentially do a very extended circuit. So we're on the downwind leg right now, and we'll do a base turn very soon. There we go, there's the base turn. And we come round onto a nice long final, flaps being deployed. The weather wasn't amazing in New Zealand on this day, but it made for some unbelievable. I mean, just look at that, that is just unbelievable. So, 16 hours of flying, all comes down to this. Let's just say the landing was fairly forceful.